Welcome to Hindsight Hacking. I'm Corey Carter.
And I'm Ron Cool, and you are listening to Hindsight Hacking, where we have talked to hundreds of entrepreneurs hacking their hindsight to give you clearer foresight.
And now, as we still bring you the same great, amazing interviews each and every week, we are adding bits and pieces to serve you in such a great way. These bits and pieces are some mindset hacks, visibility hacks, traffic hacks, and more on the Daily Hack. So we want to make sure that you have all the tools and all the resources that you need to gain more visibility and gain more traffic.
And obviously, to get more sales. So head over to gethhm.com/toolbox to grab your free resources to get the help you need to get more.
And if you're interested, after you collect all those freebies, because they're amazing, hit the link in the show notes and jump on our calendar because we definitely want to help you.
Guys, we absolutely love the community that we've created with your guys' help, and we love all the hindsight hackers. So jump on in and get on our calendar.
So without further ado, what do you say? Let's get to it. All right, everybody. Welcome back to Hindsight Hacking. And today we have the host, the star, the production channel wizard, everything, the go-to Tigo from Expert Talk. Now, for anybody that doesn't know this, I've got to read Theresa's bio. I've got to read some of these things. I normally don't like reading.
No, normally you don't do it. So this is all unique in itself.
No, there's some such good facts here that I've got to share with everybody. So Tigo spent the last 18 years mastering radio and television production, inducted into the Nevada Women's Hall of Fame for Entertainment and Media. We got to dig into that one. Received the Athena International TV and Producer Award. Published the world's first all-digital interactive magazine for African Americans in 2004 and over 1.8 million subscribers. Oh, that's amazing. Earned her PhD from the Entrepreneurial School of Hard Knocks. Lost 75 pounds through boxing at the age of 50 plus, and adjusted from full-time production crew to in-home solo producer, director, host, editor due to the COVID shutdown, and codes 16 different computer languages and counting, but cannot get her mic to work sometimes. So we don't know what's going on there. And distributes Expert Talk with Tigo in the US and Europe with over 500,000 plus weekly television viewers and counting. And we're going to get into something new that Tigo is working on called podnation.tv. And hopefully we spend much of the conversation on that. But oh my goodness, I'm super excited to have you here. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, guys. And you forgot Water Girl. I mean, I'm doing everything right now by myself. I'm even getting my own water. I'll prove it. Water Girl.
Love it. Love it. We are so excited to have you on the show. We were blessed to be on your show not too long ago. And before we get into it and talk about Pod Nation, since we've kind of been talking about that to other people, why don't you let everyone know a little bit more about Tigo and all the amazing stuff that you're doing?
Oh, you guys kind of covered it all. But I mean, most important to me, my grandkids, man. That's my why. So I have a soon to be 2. He'll be 2 in July, but he thinks he's 12 already. And then we have a 6-year-old genius that analyzes everything, including, we can't go outside right now. It's going to be dark in a little bit. The cars won't see us. And I've got a 14-year-old, soon to be 15-year-old basketball phenom who thinks he's 35 and runs the family. So that is, my ultimate why. But yeah, I love doing what I do, man. I'm one of those super geeks that could just be in a room. Yes, I claim super geek. Sue me, okay? To be in a room with a bunch of computers, really dark, just the light from the computer, I could be there for days, just creating and all that good stuff. And then somebody threw me out in front of a camera. And I've been doing this since January of 2020.
Nice.
Perfect. All right. So let's talk before we get into real details of what's going on today. You mentioned your why, and that is probably for sure the most important. I know for Ron and I as well, the kids around why we do this, but at least we have fun doing it as well. And tell me about the 1.8 million subscribers and that whole, like, just to walk us through that.
That's some
thing.
legit stuff right there. Let's just think about 1.8 million people subscribe.
Okay, so okay, I didn't know you were going to ask about that, but it figures you guys would ask about that. And now, my shirt is perfect now for what I'm about to tell you. Because success is not an accident, right? But that 1.8 million subscribers is pretty much the vein, the thorn, the Achilles heel of my very existence. It's how we left $96 million on a footstool and didn't even know we had it. And I kid you not. See, when we did this in 2004, there wasn't, you guys and Russell Brunson and all of that. We were just kind of finding our way around in the dark. So we offered free subscriptions to this magazine, and you guys don't know this because I'm a bit older than you, but I can remember back in the day when Black people were on television in the early 70s, late 60s, and everybody called everybody, Black people on TV, turn your TV on. So what happened with the magazine is word of mouth, people just started telling people, to the point where we called our server company because they sent me this really big warning letter. And I called them, they said, you're killing our servers, because we had 10,000 people at any given minute watching our shows inside this magazine. And people would call us and say, if I watch this, it's going to blow up my computer because I've never watched anything inside a PDF before. And it was like, no, it's fine. Well, see, nobody told me that the email list is the, very blood of your business, the vein that you exist on. I didn't know that then. So all we did with that 1.8 million subscribers was send them a magazine. There was no such thing as a webinar. We never even sold them a t-shirt that said BEM. The magazine was called Black Insight Magazine. We didn't even sell them a t-shirt, okay? Every month, we sent them a new magazine. And we sold advertising the traditional way. So we had Apple and Cadillac and things like that. The traditional way. But we never used that list. Well, a publication came along and told us to go away, and paid us well to go away. We were like, okay, no problem. Right. So back then we had floppy disks, the four, whatever they were. 3x3. Yeah, the little square. Yeah, there you go. Those things, there's a stack of them. Yeah. 1.8 million subscribers is a stack of these little things. So we put them together. We put rubber bands this way. We put rubber bands that way. I put them in a Ziploc bag. I roll them up nice and tight for no air. I still do that with Ziploc bags. It's an obsession. We'll talk about it later. I zipped it up, and I had this milk crate because, see, I have artificial knees, so I always have my legs up. Had this milk crate that had pillows on top. I threw that in the milk crate. I also threw all the sign-up sheets that we got at every expo we did, which we had people wrapped around our booth for our expo. I threw that list in the milk crate in 2005. And in 2009, my business partner came into the room and said, hey, what are you doing with that milk crate? I'm like, it's my footstool. I'll get you a footstool. I need something to put my records in. It's like, okay, what do you want with this crap? I don't know. We never use it. She walked out to the dumpster in the house and dumped them in the trash. Then, see, you guys wanted to know. So then I joined a little thing called ClickFunnels a year and a half ago. And this little guy named Russell Brunson said, the email is the vein of your existence. It is the absolute blood of your business. It's worth at least $1 a month for every name that you have. So I sat down and went 1.8 million names times 12 times 5 years. Oh my God. Okay. Yeah.
Wow. Good job, Corey. Good job asking hard questions.
It was worth knowing because I sure hope anybody watching or listening gets to understand you keep your emails and you utilize them $1 a month for every email that you have. And oh my gosh, I am blown away at that answer.
That's
It's
a
way
crazy
different
story.
than I expected.
No,
Yeah,
that is
Daniel
not where
needed
we thought it
therapy
would
after that
go.
one.
That is not where we thought. But so you mentioned TV, and I'm going to share this story. I think I shared it. Corey,
Okay.
you can't answer. You can't play. So there was a show that I used to love to watch, and the theme song got stuck in my head, right?
Mhm,
And it's by Quincy Jones.
mhm.
Yeah,
Right,
Sanford and Son, right?
right.
So my daughter has this little rabbit she calls Mau Mau,
Mhm.
and she would lose Mau Mau, and then we'd look all over the house like everyone that has kids when they lose something that they won't sleep unless they have it. Every time I found it, I would hold his ears or his hands and go. Meh, 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 meh. So she thinks that's Mau Mau's theme song, right? So,
Okay.
so I forget what we were doing, but the actual song came on the radio. And she goes, "It's Mau Mau's theme song, Daddy." And I was like, yes, that's what it is. That is fine. No one will care that it's actually this history making theme song that I've turned into a stuffed animals like theme song for my daughter. It's fine. It's fine. I'm helping her get involved, right? Anyway.
Right, right, right.
Oh my gosh, that is such a crazy story, Tigo. Like I can't. That's crazy.
Well, I'll give you one that I've never told
Ooh.
on camera
Breaking news.
ever.
Breaking news.
And I wouldn't be in production if it wasn't for that theme song, really.
Really?
Yeah. See, and that's I'm sitting here like, wow, what of all the things to talk about, you just had this. I'm now, it's 1972 and I'm 9 years old. And people don't know I'm in Vegas. Back in the day, Bally's used to be MGM back in the 70s. And then the big flood came and MGM said, we're out, and they turned it into Bally's. And people don't realize that when you have the two different color carpets in the casino, back then, when I was a kid, you were allowed to be on the long color. You couldn't walk by the machines. You got in major trouble.
I
Security came out of the.
I told my kids, I go, you have to stay on the track or they get mad at you.
They get mad at you, right? Right now,
Right.
It's a little bit better. If you pulled out a camera back then, they would have tackled you where you stood. But you could be on that. Well, back in the day, MGM, now Bally's, when you walked in the front door, on the right side used to be high stakes poker. There was no major room. There was nothing like it was just a rope and a little sign. And Red Fox, who played Fred Sanford, used to play high stake poker there all the time.
Wow.
And I saw him and I went, it's Fred Sanford kind of a thing when I was 9 years old. And I ran over and I got to the very edge of the carpet where you weren't supposed to cross the line. And I stood there and went, and the security guy said, you got to move. And he said, she's on the right carpet. Leave her alone. And I was like, ah. And he said, so what's your name? So I tell him my name. Long story short, we came here once a year without air conditioning from Chicago. Yeah, we'll get into that story another time. Sweating, hanging your head out the window, screaming, Dad, are we almost there? For 3 days. We came here every year. And every year, it was right around the 4th of July, he was always playing.
Really?
So I would walk in the door, and that was my, I was like, oh man, I'm going to get to see him. I get to see him. So I'd walk in the door and I'd run over there and I'd stand at the carpet. I got to know all the security. We got to be really good friends. And I'm standing there and he says, there's my Lucky Charm. How was school? What did you do? Blah, blah, blah.
Wow.
So we did that until I was 14. So about 5 years, I got to see him every year. And as I was growing up, he's like, oh, you grew up, you got, a couple of inches going on, blah, blah, blah. And we started talking about, what I wanted to do when I grew up. And I wanted to be a stand-up comic. Now, mind you, my dad always said, if you don't stand your behind up and get a job, because you're not doing that. But I always wanted to be a stand-up comic when I was a kid. So when Red Fox asked me, what do you want to do? I said, I want to be you. I want to stand on the stage and be you. And he folded on his hand and he got up, and it was the first time he ever walked over to me. And he knelt down and he got right in my face and he said, no. He said, you don't understand. The power's behind the mic. I do everything that I'm doing so that people like you can be behind the mic. You own the shows. You don't star in them. You're the producer. You're not the, coffee girl. That's what this is all about. So if you're going to do this, forget about stand up. Run the show and let the comics work for you. And I was like, this is never going to happen. I never thought it was going to happen. And then in 2004, we launched BEM. And at a Christmas party, a woman named Anna Maria Davis, she did Fools Rush In with Matthew Perry and Selma Hayek, producer, nominated, blah, 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 came to me, talked to me and said, you're a producer. And I said, no, I'm not. I'm a tech geek that created a magazine. She said, if you're doing shows and you own those shows, you're a director and a producer, and I'm going to prove it to you. And for about a year, she took me back and forth to Hollywood and set me on sets and introduced me to screenwriters and producers and directors. And all this time I'm thinking, I'm hearing Red Fox in my ear saying, you own the shows. This is what you do. And everything that we do, I hear him saying, that's right, kid, you own the show. So that's why we do the stuff the way we do it. It's because of him. So it's so funny that you go,
that is so great. Like I got goosebumps. Like that is the crazy, like who would have thought that would have had the conversation after I sang the themes? Like, come on.
That's literally what we
started. I barely understood how you transitioned to talking about the theme song today, Ron. So
no, I don't even know how it came to me. It literally came to me and said, I have to talk about this, even though it made no sense probably listening to the show. But it's my show and I can do with it as I want to, Corey.
Yes.
You're going to do your half by having your people on and talk about your stuff. I can do crazy things when I want to.
Yes. Oh, I love that story though. That is incredible. And oh man. All right. So I don't even know where to go from that, but
I know that was such a cool story.
That's how I started in production. That's where when I was a little kid, I didn't know why, but on Saturdays, you guys are too young for this, but on Saturdays and Sundays, the theater would run movies all day long, the old classic movies, and it was like $5 and you'd be there all day. So your parents dropped you off at like 10 in the morning and came back and got you in 4 in the afternoon and said, don't just eat hot dogs. Okay, whatever you do, don't just. And I would threaten to beat up the kids in my row if they didn't read the credits. I'm like, I know these people work really hard. Sit down. And they're like, it's not school. What is wrong with you? But I've always been that way. And I guess I've been on this journey even before I knew I was on it.
That's so cool.
Love it. All right. Well, let's transition to talk expert talk. Tell us about the show. Tell us about how you started it. And then we shut down, and the network was going to rerun that same episode. Indefinitely. So that is a really fun story. But tell us about the show, and then we can talk about what you do with the show as well.
Well, I've been bugged for over 5 years to host the show, and I've shown many people how to host. I've produced shows for 18 plus years. And people always said, you should host, you should have your own show. I'm like, no, I'm a director, I'm a producer. I'm not getting out of my shorts. And thanks to COVID, I don't have to because I'm wearing shorts right now. Right. But I always said I'm not going to do that. Well, in December of 2019, I was watching Shark Tank, and I went, nobody talks to us. Nobody sits down and talks to the startups and they can be multimillionaires or whatever, but they usually have a very small crew. Other than being on other podcasts or whatever, there's nobody putting them on regular television and sharing that journey because there's somebody sitting at home that wants to do it and they think they're by themselves. And if they could turn on TV and see somebody just like them, then that person, that expert is blazing that trail and leaving a lit pathway for the people to come behind them. So I said, okay, I'm going to do a show. It's going to be called Expert Talk with Tigo. This is what it's going to be about. I'm going to interview trailblazers from all over the world. Boom, this is what we're going to do. So we started inviting people in. January, we started production. We did 4 episodes in my studio. February, we started airing in 35 markets in the US. And then March came and COVID shut everything down. So I contacted the networks who I've worked with for years. They love me. Of course they do. And I said, hey, Tigo, yeah, how you doing? So COVID. So what do we do? Just shut my show down until whatever COVID's over? I mean, come on. The casinos are closing tomorrow. They're not going to close more than 3 days. It's the casino, And they said, well, we know that countries have been closed for months. So we don't know how long this is going to go on. But as long as it's going on, we will re-air the same 4 episodes that you have because you have a contract for a year, or you can figure out how to get us new content. And we moved everything into my house, me kicking and screaming like a little baby that couldn't get her lollipop, and set it up all here. And it turned out to be the best thing in the world because the original plan was we're in Vegas. I'm not paying for anybody to fly in. I'm too cheap. So we're in Vegas. When they're in town, give me a call. Come on the show. I don't care if it's 2 a.m. I'll turn everything on. The crew will come in. We'll interview you. It's wonderful. But then because of COVID, even Oprah was using Zoom.
Right.
The Tonight Show was using Zoom. So now I can use it. I can use StreamYard. Nobody thinks differently of it. And I can interview people all over the world. So in the morning, I'm interviewing people in Wales. In the afternoon, I'm in London. It's crazy, but it turned out to be the best thing for the show because now there is no borders and we talk to everybody.
No, that's so cool. I was in Vegas, twice in the last 2 months. The first time I went, the Mirage still wasn't open. Right. And
you
my
must
wife
have been here during the week.
Yeah, it was during the week. Yeah.
They're closed Monday through Wednesday.
Right. So, I mean, that was fine. But what my wife and I like to do, which is like most people, just walk through the casinos and look at the stuff, right? Mm-hmm. It was so weird walking up to the Mirage and having it chained and locked and nothing happening. That was, I mean, I still remember I told my wife, I go, can you imagine? Like, this is really happening and it's closed. Like this casino's closed.
Yeah. Right? My mother would say hell would freeze over before a casino will close.
Yeah. Right. And and then we decided, hey, let's bring the kids. Unfortunately, it was spring break. Everything was open and it was busy. So that was crazy. But it was nice to actually feel like it was kind of normal. I can't imagine in that kind of city when COVID hit and you had to transition, you probably never once even dreamed you would even have that type of problem. Like at all there, like maybe in Idaho or Colorado, but not Vegas. Vegas never sleeps. Like it's not going to shut down ever.
I mean, a lot of the older casinos downtown didn't have doors. They didn't have
doors.
No, because they never closed them. So they never had doors for those big open spaces. They had to build doors in order to lock it, in order to shut it down, because they never closed. I mean, if you've ever been to Vegas, you walk through the casino, there's not one clock. The last thing they want you thinking about is time.
Yep.
Our insurance
3 a.m. before you even know
it. Our insurance rates are insane because people are getting off work at 7 a.m. and that's their nighttime. So they go get drunk. So we've got 24-hour drunks running around this town. And then all of a sudden, there's no bars, there's no casinos, there's no strip clubs, the brothels closed.
Wow.
Think about that.
Wow.
And there's a rumor that they may not be coming back. They're not in this county. A lot of people don't realize that it's not even in this county. You have to go over the hump to Pahrump.
They're not even reopened. Like you would think that's not a major concern, but
they're not open right now. And the rumors are they may not be opening because of the type of business it was. But downtown, a lot of those casinos didn't have doors.
So
there are air vents where the doors should have been.
Wow.
Well, we all had to pivot in some way. Mm-hmm. And I feel like you pivoted in the way that it happened for you. right? The
Yeah.
shutdown happened for you, and you made the best of it to where you can be in London. You can be across the pond at 11 a.m., or you can be just local. If I know you've had
Yeah.
a guest, Rhino Julie, who lives in your town, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, but
Sean Malone and Cress and
yeah, and you could meet with them just like this, like we're meeting now, and it's
Yeah.
just I know Ron and I had the conversation. Okay, March of 2020, this is happening to us or for us, and I know we made the best of it, and we were lucky because we haven't had family that we've lost because of it, so we've been lucky on that side. So yeah, it was a nice change for me and for us. I know for Hindsight Hacking and it sounds like for Expert Talk. But let's move the conversation to your show. It's a podcast, but it's not a podcast. Like, it's a video show, and you even have podnation.tv that people can go check out. So let's talk about that a little bit, and where that came from, why you're doing that, and all that fun stuff.
Well, yes, our show is a show. It was meant to be on regular television, and we're working right now to get it into even new markets in June when we come back for our second year of traditional television distribution. We got picked up by Amazon Prime last summer, so we're available throughout the US and throughout Europe on Amazon Prime. So we're in the middle of setting up 12 episodes to go up as season 3. Yes, season 3 of Amazon Prime. So yeah, we've been great there. My city got hurt. I mean, so bad. At one point, they were saying that we had more unemployment than the Great Depression because we live off of tourism here. It's like Disneyland shutting down and Mickey Mouse trying to find a job. It just was not happening. So that was, pretty scary. But to answer your question about Pod Nation has been in the works for a couple of years now. It has shifted and changed, but I've been blessed and lucky over the years, all the way back to Red Fox, to have the right people show up in my life at the right time. And years ago, 2006, I want to say, George Carson, he's in the Radio Hall of Fame. I did a radio interview there. Actually, one of my hosts did, and I went along with her. And I said, man, I want to learn radio. This is cool. And I had no way of paying this man. And he said, you do websites, right? And I said, yeah. He said, all right, you do my website. I'll teach you radio. And I did shows there for 3 years. He never charged me a dime. He never did. If he called me up and said, come and move a chair, I'd have been over there going, okay, because he was always had my back. Well, George went through a lot of medical issues and cancer. Everybody knows that. And a couple of years ago, I called him up and said, George, what are you doing? Because I hadn't heard him on the air. And he said, nothing. I'm sitting there looking at my walls. And I was like, okay, you're not in prison. Why are you doing that? Go back to work. Let's go. And we talked about creating Pod Nation. And the original plan of Pod Nation was George interviewing other podcast hosts. And we re-air it on Roku. That was the original plan. We got 5 episodes in and George started not showing up. And I'm like, okay, what's going on? Well, he wasn't feeling really good. And he said, medically, I don't think I'm coming back to radio. And I'm like, no. So in December this past year, we were talking and I said, George, what are you doing? He said, I'm not ready to go back yet. He said, but don't let Pod Nation, just go sit on the shelf. Figure out something to do with it. So I was like, okay, what do we do with Pod Nation if we don't have George? And I thought, well, I'll get somebody else to host it. Well, that didn't feel right. So then I said, you know what? Let's create a hub for podcasts where they can stand out. And on that hub, we're actually running it through a technology that is transcribing every show, creating closed captions, but you can go to the hub and type in whatever words you want. You can type in hindsight and it'll show wherever hindsight was ever spoken and cue up the videos 10 seconds prior to the word being spoken. And I'm like, okay, that's a start. So cool. And then I said, we're not going over 1,000 shows. That way we won't get lost like you do on YouTube where there's billions and billions of clips. We can all help each other. Then I am television production. So how far can we take this? So we're putting it on Roku. It's already there. If you got a Roku system, go type in Pod Nation TV Network and it'll come up. We're going to Amazon Fire as soon as they bless us because it is Amazon. And then 60 days after Amazon says yes, we go on to Apple TV. Our ultimate goal is I called somebody I knew in Dish TV and said, so what do you need to own a channel? And they said what I needed. And I'm like, okay, so we'll be back in 24 months. So our ultimate goal is to have Pod Nation be a channel on Dish TV or direct. So people, I mean, think about it. We're literally taking you from podcast to broadcast.
Right.
That's what we're doing. You know, if you're a real estate show and you got 500 people that listen every week, Jennifer Hammond is on Pod Nation. She was on Sirius FM for 12 years. Mm-hmm. She has over 1 million followers. But if you're talking about real estate, you're both coming up at the same time. Okay. So me being a coder, we talked about my 16 languages. I'm working on my 17th right now. We won't talk about that because it's giving me gray hair. Yeah, when you get a little older, your brain don't trigger the way it used to. I mean, I used to have a photographic memory. Now it takes pictures from time to time.
You have an iPhone for a reason.
Yeah. Yeah, I need 2 of them. That's a good idea. So we're putting apples to oranges to literally peaches and pears, making this thing work together. And it has crashed more times than I want to admit in the last 4 or 5 weeks. But all that's done. Thank God. All that's done. And now it is literally being proofread right now, and we get to go with the signal. So if you go to podnation.tv, you will see it there. You will see it. But can you sign up? Not yet. You will be able to sign up probably Thursday because it's got to be tested one more good time tomorrow night, and then we'll be okay. And then we're taking people in. I mean, we've got about 200 shows waiting in the wings to come into Pod Nation. And our ultimate goal is to get to 1,000 shows. And then when people leave, you know, we'll let somebody else in and it'll be an application base. And, you know, we're going to take some of those shows to Amazon Prime. We're going to take some of those shows to traditional television. We've got some filmmakers that we know will probably drop in some film. Our core value of it all is about entrepreneurs, trailblazers, just like Expert Talk. So that's pretty much what the whole network is about. The movies are going to have to be about that if they want to be on here.
I love it.
But we will build other stations. We are building other stations right after this one. So there's actually, somebody asked me to do one for horror films. I'll do it. I'm not watching them, but I'll do it. Yeah. So now that we've done it, we can rinse and repeat and do it over and over again.
Right. No, that's so cool. I mean, again, it's you learned a process, you learned how to do it, and you're able to morph it into different genres, the best way to put it. But that is so cool. I can't wait to actually see it on. I have Apple TV. That's how I stream my TV. I can't wait to watch it on there. I think that's going to be so cool.
And that's what's neat, being able to be a podcaster.
Yeah.
Because 3 years ago, I mean, heck, before COVID, being a podcaster was like, wow. And now so many people have started a podcast.
Yep.
So now being able to tell somebody, you know, where can I watch on any device? From a phone to a 100-inch television, you can watch my show. You know, that I think is really, really cool. It puts them in a level that other people haven't reached yet, which is awesome.
Right.
Yeah, you've got to find a way to stand out, right? Like you said, there's so many people that are doing their own podcasts, and there's so many amazing podcasts out there. But you've got to find a way to stand out. And a lot of us are recording it in some kind of video format. So why not utilize it and put it in other channels like Pod Nation, right? And but to be one of the few, to be one of the 1,000, to be the trailblazer, obviously timing is everything. But you know, what if you get 100 people looking for real estate? Like what's kind of like your criteria that you're you're really trying to finalize with some of this?
We're more concerned with the quality of the content than we are for the division they fall in. Because for the most part, we're not going to get 100 of any one subject, because everybody is doing something different. Just like you guys are doing, hindsight hacking. You're not the only company that's an agency that's helping people, but you have your own niche. And that's what's going to stand you out. So will there be other companies on there that also help people do podcasts? Yeah, but they don't do it your way. They don't help in your way. And that's what's going to stand you out. And that's why it's so important to transcribe everything. You're not worried about, did I get the right keyword? Did I add the right tag? It's every word within that episode. So every word turns into thousands and thousands of keywords that drives traffic.
Love it. Love it.
You gotta have the Tigo comedy filter. Like, what are the jokes? You gotta have that pull out every time.
I think she's building this so she could do her stand-up. That's what I think this whole thing is about. It's really it's a place where she could do her stand-up and it'll be fine. Because
I was on a live show with Josh, and you guys know Josh, right? And I was on a live show with him, and there was a lady, she's a comic, and she was watching the show. And she was chiming in and commenting and da-da-da-da. And she was like, you got to come be on my stage. And I was a little kid dressing up in the hallway in my parents' house all over again, just dying to be on the stage, man. I just want to be on the stage. So yeah, comedy is there. And maybe one day I'll go do it. I'll get booed off the stage and then I'll never do it again. But we're going to do it.
So I don't think I've ever shared this story. Corey, I don't even know if you know this. I was asked to do an audition at the Comedy Works. And how they do auditions, it's like a live show on and off night, right? So the only rule was don't drive yourself. Have someone drive you, right? And I was like, okay. So I practiced, had people listen. Everyone thought it was funny. And I was like, I can drive there. Why would I have someone drive me? That's dumb. I got halfway there and turned around and didn't go. That's why.
That's why.
Right? That is why someone drives you to go to the audition, because you will not show up. You will talk yourself out of it on the way there. And I was right.
Yeah. I mean, when I was a sales director, that's what I taught my kids. I called them my kids. That's what I taught my salespeople. The hardest door to get through is not your client's door. It's your car door. It's your house door, because you talk yourself out of it. Yep. When I sold vacuums back in the 90s, I would sit outside their house and go, oh, no, that house is too nice. They don't need a vacuum. Or I sit out there and go, oh, they've got a flat. They can't afford it. And I drive away. It's you block yourself. No, I sold for Electrolux, and I still hold records for female sales west of the Rockies. And I haven't sold a vacuum since 1997, I think.
Wow.
So, yeah. My mother says I came here selling. So that's
right. That's awesome.
So I assume now that if you start something or go something, like, you don't quit until it's best of the best, right? Like, that's what I'm getting from.
That's the vibe I'm
getting bio up until launching Pod Nation. Like, you when you start it, it's got to be the best before you can even think about moving on.
Yeah, I get stuck. And it's not so much that it has to, because we always have multiple things going at the same time. We got Now for Life, the Now Honors coming up in a couple of weeks. We've always got something else going on. But once it gets past my captain, is what I call my business partner, Ann. Once it gets past her and she checks off on it, she's our COO, and she says, yep, this is a good one. That's all I need. She checks off on it, I can run. And we have just dug in, clawed in, because people quit. Success is not an accident. People quit and they think, well, I did a podcast, it was a flop. How many episodes you do? Well, 4. One. It's like 4 in 3 months, dude.
Right.
You might want to. I mean, that's like telling your kid, you fell down 4 times. You need to give up this walking thing. It's just not for you. What is wrong with you? you have to keep going. So I have hit so many brick walls and so many mountains. And then there was another one on the other side and another one on the other side, that I've learned that if you want it, you could have 1,000,000 people telling you no, but it's that one. And sometimes that one is just you that just knows it's right.
Yeah.
Just knows it and just keeps going.
Yeah.
So that's me. That's what I love to do.
I love that. Don't quit. Don't quit. And be
Don't
consistent.
quit.
Because if you're not
Yeah.
consistent, like you failed, don't do all the, like that's what we tell everybody, because we help people launch podcasts, right?
Mhm.
And they're like, I'm going to do a podcast every day like you guys. And we're like, no, you're not. It's once a week. Once a week, get like 3 months ahead, and then let's talk about it. And there's a couple people that are like, I'm dead set on doing 2. And literally, she's pulling her hair out right now because it's taking time. And even though we try to explain, it takes time.
Yeah.
Don't do that to yourself, because we try to put them in a year from now. Like a year from now, where's your business going to be because of said podcast, because of said whatever? Are you going to have the time that you have currently right now to continue what you've committed to doing for your listeners? Yes or no? The answer is no.
Yeah.
The answer is no. So be
Yeah.
consistent, stay consistent. And then I promise you, if you're consistent for a year, your life will change.
Yeah. And I tell people all the time, success is in the details.
Mm-hmm.
When you see something, like I love looking at Funnel Fridays. I think Jim Edwards is hilarious, and I love watching Russell build. I mean, it's magic.
Right.
But the graphics are already done. The scripts are already done. They know he's just putting like blocks together by that time,
right,
in that 30 minutes, Success is in the details. When you decide you want to do a show, what's your topic? Who's your guest? How are you going to find more guests? What's the value that you're offering them? Because they're not just coming because they think you're cute. How long is it going to be? How much time do you have? How much pre-prep time do you have? How much time are you going to broadcast it? How many of these can you do before you go broke because you haven't made money from it yet? They don't think about all that. They look at you guys, they look at us, and they go, oh, I can do that.
Right.
And it's like, you can, if you want to be up at 3 a.m. like we are trying to figure out, it's like, this didn't just happen. We didn't come out of a can this way. It took time.
Right. We had one person go, she was going to use us and then decided not to because it looked easy. And then like a month or two later, she goes, you guys make it look so easy. You guys make it look so easy. Like I can't do that. And I was like, yeah, it's not. But again, I used to work for Starbucks, and I used to tell this to people. People don't want to know how you make the mocha. They want the smiling face and all the non-drama and a thank you to give that. They want the simple. They want the easy, because they're here for a reason, and they don't want to hear about how you had to make the mocha and stir it X amount of times. No one wants to know that.
Nobody wants to know. And same thing with television and actors and directors and stuff. You see Steven Spielberg, you see Angela Bassett, and you think, man, I want that life. Yep. No, you don't. I mean, here's people that if they get a craving in the middle of the night, they end up on Page 6 in New York, or they end up on TMZ because, oh my God, Angela Bassett's, ruining her waistline. We saw her with Haagen-Dazs.
Right.
You want that life? Yeah.
Right.
You got to be perfect and on all the time. You can't have a bad day. You can't have a headache. Your kids can't be sick. You've got to be that person that you see on TV and film all the time. It's like, yeah, success is in the details. You don't know what goes on behind the curtain, like in The Wizard of Oz. He's back there like with these little levers,
right,
trying to make all this stuff look good.
Right.
Yeah. Knowing the details, knowing the successes there that you have through all the incredible endeavors that you've done, I got to ask you about hindsight. I got to ask you about, if we all know hindsight's 2020, if we could go back in time and tweak a little thing here or there, what kind of advice would you have given a younger self besides saving your 1.8 million emails?
Besides that one.
Oh, you just had to bring that up, right? I was
he's
just
mean, isn't he?
The pain.
He's mean sometimes.
No, my mother told me, my parents were older when they adopted me, and they were literally sharecroppers when they were kids. I mean, my mother was born in 1920. My dad was born in 1924. And I thought I knew everything. And my mother said, you're going to find out the older you get, the smarter I get. And what I would have done differently is I've had so many people come into my life, including my parents, that I took and learned so much from. But if I had just practiced that old t-shirt, I don't have a drinking problem, 2 hands, 1 mouth, no problem. If I had taken those hands and put them, over my mouth and just listen, I'd be 10, 15 years down the road, But I was so busy going, kind of like your customer who said, I can do that. That looks easy.
Right.
I was so busy going, I got this. When I should have been listening, because they were offering me a way to get it done the right way. Do you know how many times we ran 15 miles the wrong direction when somebody was standing at the fork of the road and saying, don't go that way.
Don't go that way. Right.
Don't go. You don't want to try. All right, fine. And when I come back and start going that, they're standing there going,
yep.
Have a good trip.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I would listen more.
It's so funny because my kids get in more trouble when they make me sound like my parents. So once I sound like my parents, they're instantly in the corner because that's not right. I remember calling my dad once and I called him and I go, I'm going to say something, then I'm hanging up and we're never talking about it again. And he goes, okay. I go, you were right in everything you've ever told me. And I hung up. So now I've admitted it. We don't have to talk about it. I've admitted it, right? He does rub it in my face every once in a while. But it's true. As you get older, you're like, oh my gosh, yeah, makes sense.
Listen, man.
And it's funny because I consider myself a pretty techie person. My daughter, who's 7, taught me something on the iPad that I did not know it did. And I was like, oh my gosh, it just happened. It just happened. My 7-year-old daughter is now teaching me electronic stuff. That is not okay at all. It was funny because then my wife goes, you're going to be like your dad when it comes to their tech. And I go, you take that back.
This is fight word.
You take that back because my dad will call and say, like, he'll send me an email and say, I can't get on the internet. Can you help me? You sent me an email. It's fixed. There you go. It's now fixed. You're welcome. Right?
Ooh, the other day, it's probably a week ago, I always used to say, you know what the old folks say, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
And I said this to one of my kids. I said, you know what the old folks say? And when I was saying it, I realized that I had said that exact same phrase to another one of my kids the week before and realized that I have now become the old folks who say that.
Oh.
And I'm like, that hurts. But I tell you something else that I love doing too. And my grandson, who's 2 years old, has taught me. Because, I mean, like everybody, I'm sure you guys have your days. I know I have my dark days when I just want to quit and call a headhunter and say, give me a job where they could. Okay.
Right.
And my almost 2-year-old grandson, his newest thing is to scream, wee, as he runs around the room. And he was trying to figure out how to get his little car airplane through this very tight space. And when you said, you want me to help you? He went, shh, that's his new thing. Shh, like, I got this. And he stood there and just worked it through. Nothing was going to stop him.
Right.
And he figured it out.
Right.
He worked it through. And a lot of times when you get older, if it doesn't work the first time or the second time,
throw it away.
Yeah, you throw it away. And that's why dumpster divers are millionaires, because they take all this stuff and turn it into gold. But, listen to your elders. I would definitely do that. You had an opportunity I didn't have. My parents passed away before I had the light bulb really come on. So I never got the opportunity to tell them they were right. I know they're somewhere right now going, we already know, you didn't have to say it.
Right.
But I couldn't do it in person.
Right.
So listen to the elders, but pay attention to the young people because they haven't been jaded yet.
Yeah.
They don't know what that is. And they're
Exactly.
like, what do you mean I can't climb that mountain? Watch me with popsicle sticks. You know, it's like, yeah, that's what I would do different. I would listen and I would watch more.
Perfect. Love that. Love that answer. And I love that you both brought up the kids. Like, we can learn so much from them, even though we sometimes just assume we're right, right? We most of the time know we're right, even though if we would just let them and listen to them at 2 years old, at 7 years old, then there's so much more that we can learn if we let it happen. And maybe if we teach them to listen by us listening when they're talking, then maybe they'll be better listeners than we were.
Can we start with my
puberty's going to hit, and
Can we
and
start
they're
with
not
my
going to
kids?
listen to
Because
us
my
either.
kids don't listen. Like I had to laugh a little bit. Like, teaching them to listen is like the bane of my existence for 7
Yeah.
years. So
Yeah, they're waiting for you to listen too. That's what it is. That's my theory, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But
They're not
all
going
right,
to listen. Puberty's going to hit, and you're going to be the dumbest person on the planet, because that's just, I think, in my opinion, that's just God's plan. We did it to our parents.
Yep.
They're going to do it to us.
Right.
And now I'm watching, my grandkids do it to their parents.
Right.
And
Well,
it's
you
like,
started
here
the
it
show
goes.
that the 14-year-old thinks he's 35 and he's running the
Yeah.
family, right?
Yeah, he thinks he's 35. Told me he wanted $250 ear pods, and I went, did your ears, step up in an economic space that I don't know about? Because that's not happening. You're going to get the $12 pair from Amazon that you always get and forget at the court.
Right.
So he didn't want to hear that. So sorry.
That's
Get a
so
job.
funny. But it doesn't have the logo, Mom. It doesn't have the logo, Grandma.
Yeah, I know. No, that's not happening.
Oh my gosh. So, oh my God, what a great interview this was. I'm so excited. This was so fun. And it kind of went in a totally different direction than I thought it was going to go. So that's cool. But how can people...
Yeah, life's what happens when you're making other plans.
Well, this is a perfect example why we don't script the show, or we would not have learned about anything we learned about at the beginning of the show. So
Yeah,
that's
what, my $96 million boo-boo?
No, that's Corey's job to say. I only talk about Sanford and Son. That's it. I bring up the good things. Corey brings up the hard things. Like, Corey has to say the people's names. So I can go through the whole interview and never say a person's name. It's brilliant. I figured all of these out. All the stuff that I struggle with, names, like pronunciation, grammar be hard, all that Corey has to handle. It's perfect. Perfect.
That's awesome.
It's a great job for me.
Theresa, do you need a new co-host? I might be in search
hold
of.
What?
I don't know. I mean, Tigo and Cool sounds really good to me. And then we bring over Corey.
I guess I'm out of here. I'm out.
Oh
All right. So I think Ron was going to ask, but where can everyone find you? Because they definitely are walking away listening.
We have a bunch of podcasters that I know would love to be on TV. So how can they get in contact with you?
Hey, if you want to be a guest on Expert Talk, the best way to be a guest on Expert Talk is to go to experttalk.fm. That's where you can see probably 60, 70 episodes. We're well into 100 episodes now of the show. And there's also a link there to, send in information and request to be a guest. So please, we just went to 3 days a week. So what was I thinking? 3 times the content? Please contact me. Yes. Then if you want to just, if you want me to come speak, you want me to be a guest, you just want to hang out with me, whatever, go to tgo.fm, tgo.fm. That's where you can find out everything about me and what I do and how I do it and how crazy I am. Yeah, you'll find me over there just kind of hanging out. That'd be great.
So cool. So cool. Thank you so much for coming today. We feel so honored that you came on and you shared stuff that you've not shared before. So that's even cooler.
I have never told that story publicly anywhere. So
because no one serenaded you with the Sanford and Sons theme.
I know. Dee. You notice as soon as you did it, I started doing it too. It's like,
yeah. It's funny because my wife, I did it for years. Okay. And I still do it every once in a while, but my daughter's old enough where Mau doesn't come out of her room as much. But Rachel was like doing the dishes, humming the song. And I was like, what are you doing? She goes, nothing. And I was like, gotcha. Right. Because it's just hilarious. I have like 3 different songs that I'll sing and that's it. around the house, and it sticks in your head.
Wow, that's wild.
Yeah.
I want to tell you guys, it was fun hanging out with you. I love it. You guys are always welcome to come over and hang out at Expert Talk. Like I said, I'm gone to 3 days a week. Y'all can hang out 2 days a week if you want.
Yeah, we'll come over.
Come on over. It's amazing. I have not met, your client base, but I'm going to tell them if you're watching, I hope you are. You guys are lucky, because I know you guys tell it like it is. You're not fluffing and folding, and you're putting out quality content, which right now is really super important because there's a lot of crap being put out there. They're not taking time. It's not quality. They're mimicking somebody else. And, well, that's the way he did it, so I'm going to do it this way too. Right. And it's just, I'm from the south side of Chicago. I'm going to tell it like it is. It's garbage. Right. You guys are awesome. You're amazing. Wow. I love the work that you're doing, and just keep doing it, man. Any way that I can help you and be of service to you and your following and your tribe, your community, let me know. I'm always here.
Thanks, Tigo.
So amazing, and I can't wait. I know at some point we were talking about a little get together with Evans and Michelle and you, and a little collaboration.
I talked to Sean. Yeah, I'm thinking. We're doing the Now Honors on the 22nd of September. And what the Now Honors is Network of Outstanding Women. I figured that it's time for women to have an awards ceremony, an honoring ceremony that is the same scale or higher of what's out there already with the guys and everything. You go into an event that's 10,000 people when we go back to live events.
Right.
And it's mainly all guys. And there's this one honorary girl that's on the stage. My goal is to get...
Can I be the honorary guy?
See, everybody said that. My goal is to get this event, the Now Honors, every year in May, after Mother's Day, every year in May, we're going to do this and honor women from all walks of life. And when we can go back to live stages, I want 10,000 women just losing their minds and learning from other women that were stay-at-home moms and college graduates that had to go work a different job and blah, 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 how they can do it too, and how they can be successful and just lose their mind. So the first one's coming up on November 22nd. I'll make sure I send you guys a link and all the artwork and stuff. You want to check it out because we're doing it in front of a virtual live studio audience.
Awesome.
And it's free. So come on over and support. I mean, we've got a 7 or 8 time New York Times bestseller in this event. We're going to have a blast. So it made me think about Pod Nation. And maybe we need to do some kind of podcast honors. Maybe you and I, we three, and maybe get with a couple other people, and we create something to start honoring some of these guys that are really making a
award
difference.
Ceremony.
Yeah, that are really making a difference. Not just putting on a show to be putting on a show, but are really making a difference. So maybe we can talk about that. I think that would be a blast to do.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Absolutely.
Love it.
Impacted those podcasters making an impact. That would be pretty awesome. So, all right, Theresa, thank you so much for joining us. It's been
thanks, guys.
And
someone asked if they can nominate women
for the Now Honors.
Yeah,
we have already picked the first 6, but you can nominate women for next year.
Nice.
We've already picked. I've had the honors hand blown. I mean, they're being literally flown in right now. So
nice.
Yeah, that we got trying to keep up with people like Russell. They may not hang out a record on the wall, but they'll have their Now award.
They'll have something.
Perfect.
Thanks so much, Diego.
Thank you. Right. I appreciate you.
All right.
Bye.
Oh, so fun, and I definitely.
How cool is that story?
Which one? There's so many good ones right there,
Dude.
But. The Sanford and Son story, that was pretty fun. I know you talk a lot about how there's no coincidences. If I can say
I do. There is no coincidences ever. There's zero reason. Like, I promise, if you listen to the show, if you go back to the show and you listen to it, there's zero reason I brought up that story.
I know it didn't make sense. You sometimes don't make sense, but that's okay. But that time you definitely made sense.
I'm the crazy random guy, right?
But but it brought up that. So anyway, it's so good. Anyway, let's talk series for a second. Let's talk takeaways. Let's talk value that our audience, our listeners,
Leo's gonna get mad at me for this one, I think.
Gonna be mad.
Own your traffic. Own your traffic. Keep it safe.
Keep it safe.
Keep it safe. Like, own your traffic, right?
So how do you own traffic? Expand on that for those that aren't quite sure.
Get the emails, hold the emails, own it, because at the end of the day, we've both been booted off of Facebook for no reason, right? And if you get booted off of Facebook and your whole business is on Facebook, your business is done if you can't talk to your people. So own your traffic. So that's one. Going back and forth to a couple. This one I like the most. And she did a prime example of this. And she should be heralded as an example. Make the best of what's happening around you. Right? So you can everybody on the planet went through the same thing. There's two types of people. People that sat and complained and moaned about it, or people that used it to do something with it. That's it. Those are the two options you had. She could have just said, okay, just run those 4 episodes, Mr. Blah, 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 right? But she didn't. She didn't. And she created this amazing thing out of it that probably is easier, faster, and can do more for her time than actually the in-person was going to be able to do. And she's be able to scale it faster and create more of an impact. So things happen to you. Yes, get over it. But you know what? It's up to you and your decision and how you handle things to make whatever it is your reality.
Yep, absolutely. And then my last piece, my biggest takeaway is the answer to the hindsight question, right? We were all giving one mouth and 2 ears.
Mm-hmm.
You have more ears for a reason, and use them more. And so just to bring it back to anybody out there with their business right now, like, if I know we can't go back in time for real and listen to our parents like we should have, but you can stop right now and you can listen to your team. You can listen to your audience, your clients, right? Like, you can take a second to listen and figure out how can you make a better impact? How can you wow your customer just a little bit more? How can you have a better culture for your employees?
Mm-hmm.
All you got to do is listen.
Yep. True statement.
All right, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as we did. So, on the thumbs note, that's all for today. Thank you so much. Have a good one. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you had as much fun as I did. And you know what? If you're not already a member of our Facebook group, what are you waiting for? Head on over facebook.com/groups/profits with.
Guys, we are super excited to have you be a part of our community and help you get more visible, get more traffic, and get more sales.
That's right, Ron. And every time someone is in our group, we get to share all the tips, the tricks, and everything that you can get profits with from your summits, your challenges, your workshops, your podcasts, your vodcasts, and so much more.
Guys, thanks for being the best part of the Hindsight Hackers.